Fear arises the desire to control what is beyond our power. Fear often arises from our desire to control what lies beyond our power. As human beings, we tend to feel anxious when confronted with situations or circumstances we cannot influence. This desire to manage the unknown creates a sense of helplessness and fear within us. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus said, "Avoid wanting what is beyond your power, for all of man's misfortunes stem from this." When we try to intervene in things that are out of our control, the future, the actions of others, or natural events, we inevitably face disappointment and fear. Wisdom lies in recognizing our limitations and focusing on what we can truly influence: our thoughts, actions, and attitude toward life. By controlling ourselves rather than external circumstances, we find inner peace and free ourselves from fear. It's important to accept life as it is, trusting in what we cannot change, and maintaining control only over our inner world. Fear is within us even when there is nothing to fear. Fear is an emotion that can exist within us, even when there is no real threat. It doesn't always arise from external circumstances. Sometimes fear is born from our own thoughts, perceptions, or past experiences. Even in moments when there is nothing to fear in reality, we can still feel anxiety and unease generated by our inner world. This is because the human mind tends to project imagined dangers, creating scenarios that may never happen. We fear the unknown, what could happen, even though this could has no real foundation. It is an imaginary fear, fed by our doubts and insecurities. In these moments, fear becomes part of our perception, rather than a response to an actual threat. Additionally, fear can be deeply rooted in our subconscious as a result of previous negative experiences. This fear persists even if the danger is long gone. We start to fear not specific situations, but the emotions themselves that are associated with pain, failure, or loss. The paradox of fear is that even in a safe environment, when there is nothing external to be afraid of, it can continue to live inside us, fueled by our thoughts and perceptions. Understanding this helps us realize that fear is not always an objective reality, but often an internal mechanism that can be overcome through self-awareness and working on our emotions. Fear prevents us from reaching our goal. There is an ancient saying, "He who is not afraid to go forward reaches his goal." For fear is a shadow that thickens before the light of hope and reason, and subdues the reasonable man, even when his path is bright and clear. The fear of which we speak is like a snake that, lurking in thick grasses, suddenly appears and makes us stop and tremble, even though there is sometimes no danger at all. The great sages of antiquity knew that fear is an illusion that arises in the soul when it weakens and begins to lose touch with the truth. Fear feeds on ignorance. It is like a dark night that envelops the mind and makes a person hesitate. Socrates taught, "Know thyself," for in self-knowledge is the way to liberation from illusory fears. When a person realizes who he is, his essence becomes as strong as a rock, and no waves of fear can shake it. There are moments in every man's life when the goal is visible and beckons him, like the light of a lighthouse showing the way to the harbor. But the closer he gets to that goal, the more he begins to hear the whisper of fears within him. What if I can't do it? What if I stumble? This whisper is like the sirens that lure travelers to the cliffs. But as the wise Odysseus taught, to get past these sirens, one must tie oneself firmly to the mast of one's ship, that is, to one's mind and will. The great Stoic Epictetus said, "It is not events that are our problem, but our attitude toward them." Fear does not lie in events that have not yet happened, but only in our thoughts about them. We are not afraid of the goal itself, but of what we see on the way to it. Pain, defeat, humiliation. If a person can let go of his useless anxieties and turn to the goal with a pure heart, he will realize that the path was simple and clear all along, and that his fears were only mirages hiding the light. Forget fear and see only the light of confidence and purpose. Amidst the storms of life, where the waves rise and the lightning of doubt strikes, the wise teach us to gaze not upon the darkness, but upon the light that guides our path. Fear is like a shadow, a mist that clouds the eyes. But he who wishes to find confidence must learn to dispel this mist, to see only the clear light before him. How, then, does one achieve this? How does one find the strength to banish fear and fortify the soul? Let us recall the ancient wise men who said, "Fear does not arise from events, but from the human mind." The great Plato pointed out that the soul is pure and bright, and when it is shrouded in the darkness of fear, it loses the ability to see clearly. Therefore, it is essential to turn to the source of one's soul, to its divine essence, which knows the truth and fears not the path. Just as the stars guide ships through the night seas, so the light of reason, clear and unwavering, leads us to our goal without doubt. To forget about fear, one must first understand its nature. Fear arises when the mind dreads the unknown and clings to illusions created by the person himself. But the wise know that the unknown harbors no evil, for everything in the world is governed by harmony and reason. Epictetus said, "If you are not in control of what happens, be in control of how you react to it." And if fear is nothing but the empty worries of the mind, then you have the power to cast it aside, like a heavy burden that hinders your progress. How can one let go of fear and see only the light of confidence? The first step is knowledge. A wise person does not fear because he understands that his fears are illusory. He who knows the truth sees his path clearly, and the darkness cannot hide from him. The light that shows the way. Knowledge is the lamp that dispels the shadows. Before setting out, a person must know himself, as Socrates taught, and find within the strength that has always been there, but was hidden from his sight. The second step is mastering fear through the constant practice of virtue. Human will is strong when fortified by the habit of courage, as a ship is resilient, bound with iron, unafraid of storms. Each day, by taking steps toward his goals, a person strengthens himself, and his fears grow weaker, like shadows that disappear in the light of the rising sun. When a person overcomes fear, he does not return to it, for he realizes that there was no true threat, only a weakness that has been vanquished. Finally, the third step is confidence, born of faith in eventual success. The great Cicero said, "He who proceeds with firm confidence will not stray from the path." A person who sees a clear goal ahead of him and believes in his own strength has already overcome half of the journey. Belief in oneself is the force that lifts the spirit. It gives wings to soar above the abyss of doubt. Just as the ancient hero Perseus flew on wings gifted by the gods, so too does a person who has conquered fear fly towards the light of confidence, and no one can stop him. Thus, the path to the goal must be clear and bright, like the path of a hero destined to fulfill his purpose. First, one must know oneself, then strengthen the soul through virtue, and finally find the faith that will lead to victory. The light of confidence shines brighter and stronger than any fears, and when a person holds it before him, no darkness can obscure his sight. For the light is within us, and it does not fade unless we ourselves allow fear to consume it. Cast aside your fears, and your path will be clear, your goal close and within reach. Thank you for watching this video. Do you agree or disagree? Please feel free to share your opinion in the comments. I really appreciate knowing what you think.